A too mature child is a child who behaves more like an adult than a child of their age, and in psychology this situation is often connected with what experts call a parentified child. This happens when a child grows up in an environment where they are forced to take responsibilities that normally belong to adults, such as taking care of siblings, solving family conflicts, managing emotional problems of parents, or constantly trying to behave perfectly in order to keep peace in the home. At first glance, many people admire such children because they seem disciplined, responsible, calm, intelligent, and emotionally controlled compared to other kids of their age, but psychology explains that extreme maturity during childhood can sometimes hide deep emotional pressure, stress, or early exposure to difficult life experiences. Childhood is supposed to be a time of exploration, play, curiosity, mistakes, and emotional growth, but when a child becomes too mature, they often skip many natural stages of childhood development because their brain learns. Example can be seen in families where parents are emotionally unavailable or overly busy, and the child becomes responsible for younger siblings by cooking, helping them study, or protecting them from problems. Such children often develop leadership and caregiving skills very early, but they may also feel that their own needs and emotions are less important than the needs of others. Psychology research shows that children who grow up too quickly often develop strong observation skills because they constantly analyze people's moods, body language, and reactions in order to avoid problems. They become emotionally intelligent and sensitive to others' feelings, which can later make them excellent listeners, leaders, and supportive friends. However, the hidden side is that these children sometimes struggle to express their own emotions because they have learned since childhood to suppress feelings like sadness, anger, or fear. Many too mature children grow into adults who feel responsible for everyone around them and have difficulty relaxing or asking for help because their mind believes that they must always stay strong. Another important psychological aspect of overly mature children is perfectionism. Since they learned early that mistakes could create problems or criticism, they start trying to do everything perfectly. They may become top students in school, follow rules strictly, and behave more politely than other children, but internally they might experience constant pressure to meet high expectations. This perfectionism sometimes continues into adulthood where they become hard-working professionals but struggle with burnout, anxiety, or fear of failure. Psychologists also explain that children who mature too early may develop what is called hyper-independence. This means they prefer to solve problems alone and rarely rely on others because they learned early that they must depend on themselves. While independence is generally a positive trait, extreme independence can create emotional distance from others and make relationships difficult because the person feels uncomfortable being vulnerable or asking for support. Interestingly, society often praises these children without realizing the emotional cost behind their maturity. Teachers may say the child is very responsible, relatives may say the child is wise beyond their years, and friends may see them as the one who always gives advice. Although these compliments are positive, they sometimes reinforce the belief that the child must always behave maturely and cannot show weakness like other kids. Over time this creates an identity where the child becomes known as the strong one, the helper, or the problem solver. And they feel pressure to maintain this role even when they are tired or emotionally overwhelmed. From a developmental psychology perspective, the brain of a child is still learning emotional regulation, creativity, imagination, and social play. When life circumstances force a child to think like an adult too early, some emotional experiences remain unprocessed. This is why some adults who were very mature children later feel a sense of lost childhood or regret that they never fully experienced carefree moments of youth. However, it is also important to understand that being a mature child is not entirely negative. Many individuals who grew up quickly develop extraordinary strengths such as resilience, empathy, leadership, discipline, and deep understanding of human behavior. They often become people who support others, solve complex problems, and show great responsibility in professional and personal life. The key psychological challenge is learning balance, allowing themselves to experience joy, relaxation, and emotional openness that they may have missed earlier. Healing for people who were too mature children often begins with self-awareness. When they recognize that their early maturity was a response to circumstances rather than a permanent identity, they can slowly learn to reconnect with their emotional needs. This might involve allowing themselves to make mistakes, asking for help, spending time on hobbies, or expressing feelings openly without fear of judgment. Therapy and self-reflection can also help individuals understand that being responsible does not mean ignoring their own emotional well-being. Parents and caregivers also play an important role in preventing unhealthy maturity in children. Children should be given responsibilities appropriate for their age, but they should never feel responsible for adult problems like financial stress, marital conflicts, or emotional support for parents. Healthy childhood includes play, curiosity, creativity, and emotional safety where children feel free to express their feelings without fear of criticism. When families maintain this balance, children grow into emotionally stable adults who are both responsible and joyful. In conclusion, a too mature child is often a sign of a child who adapted to challenging circumstances by developing adult-like behavior earlier than expected. While such children may appear strong, intelligent, and disciplined, their maturity sometimes hides emotional burdens that should not belong to childhood. Understanding